This week on the RV podcast,
we have some very helpful RV towing tips from a top expert who also will share the best way to weigh your rig and what you need to know about tire maintenance.
guess what kind of RV sold the best last year? If you said motorhomes, you'd be wrong.
In Mike and Jen's story time, we're going to tell you about the time we spent a wild night in our RV on Gobbler's Knob in Pennsylvania, waiting for the Groundhog Day appearance of Punxsutawney Phil.
All this, plus the RV news of the week, and your questions coming up in episode 533 of the RV podcast.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Wendland, and this is my lifelong traveling companion and my bride, Jennifer. Hello, my dear.
Hello, Mr. Mike.
I don't want to give away too many secrets, but you have a bit of a suntan, and I think I have a little flush in my face, too.
Yeah, we're still in Florida, and the weather turned nice yesterday.
All that complaining we did about the cold and the snow in Florida a couple of weeks ago is out the window. We have been strolling the beach. It is unbelievable. Temperatures just a shade under 70 degrees. It's been cloudless skies the last couple of days. There's none of the tourism here. It's very quiet in the panhandle where we are. So we've got the beach almost totally to ourselves. It has been a great time. But this is not a vacation.
No, there's catching up on editing. We've got all these videos and everything that we've been gathering, all this information. We've got to sort through it and get it organized and get it ready to present to you guys.
Yeah, we do. And it's also been kind of a time for us to plan our next year of travel and to work on the rallies that we're holding for our RV community. And that's a good reason, by the way, if you haven't joined rvcommunity.com to join it, because community members can go to our rallies, and we have 3 scheduled this year: Nashville, Northern Michigan, and the Hill Country of Texas. And you can learn about that if you go to rvcommunity.com, and they're only open to members, so it's another reason to become a member. Several people have asked us about where our RV is when we're spending time like this, reassessing the year and getting ready for a new one. Our RV is close by.
There's a wonderful way to store your RV that's out there. We're using neighbor.com app, and it's a wonderful thing to use.
It's a great app. We've been using it for a couple, 3 years, but we stay at the same place now. We found this guy through neighbor.com, and we've become actually almost friends with him. So our RV is there. I didn't want to have to re-winterize it in the north. And we're pretty safe down here. There's not going to be any massive, long cold snaps like we had in January. So it's out there, and it may stay there until April or so, when then we'll take it up to Tennessee, our property there, and do our rally in Nashville. But it's a great service. We really like it.
And it was really hard, the decision whether to leave it in Florida or take it up to Tennessee. But Florida won out because we don't want to winterize it again. Now, we've been busy, the health club. I look forward to the health club that's here. I love the health club that is here. And the dog park. Bo has his friends. We have our friends. And we meet new people.
It's a great dog park. It's got its own beach for the dogs. And Bo loves that. And we're friends with all the regulars there as well. And then we're trying to sneak in a little bit of beach time, but we're still working almost the whole day, but it's just lower keyed. We really have been decompressing since the Florida RV show in Tampa.
I just can't emphasize how much I love it here when there aren't the chairs and umbrellas up and there isn't all the hassle and hustle of a busy beach, going for walks and just enjoying the nature of the Gulf.
Yep. Just want to remind you that the show notes and all of the links to things we talk about here on the podcast can be found at rvlifestyle.com/podcast. So you can go over there and find it. And also we want to let you know that we love hearing from you. If you have a comment or a question that you'd like us to address in a future episode of the podcast, just send it to our private email, mikeandjen@rvlifestyle.com. Before we get now to our conversation of the week, we want to let you know that this part of the podcast is brought to you by Keystone RV's Montana line of luxury fifth wheels. If you are serious about RVing You've probably heard of the Montana, and there is a reason for that.
Montana isn't just an RV. It's the gold standard in luxury fifth wheels, representing over 25 years of quality, craftsmanship, and innovation with features like stunning front living spaces, residential style kitchens, and durability tested. Montana is built to handle everything from epic cross-country trips to cozy winter retreats.
Just as an example, we urge you to go look at our video that we just released this week. It was a review that we did at the Tampa RV show of one of the new Montana models, this one with the side patio. But that's just one of many different Montanas. And, you know, we've had a Montana of our own for a couple of years, and we just love it. We call it our condo on wheels. That's how comfortable it is. So if you're ready to upgrade your journey, go visit KeystoneRV.com and discover why Montana is continuing to set the standard for RVers who demand more. All right, time now for the RV conversation of the week.
This week, our conversation is about RV towables, trailers, and fifth wheels, and why you need to know about safe traveling and towing, from making turns to tires to driving the proper speed to weighing the RV for safe towing.
Our guest is Tim Schultz. Tim is a Senior Vice President of Engineering for Lippert Components. Lippert's one of the largest, if not the largest, RV supplier, certainly in North America, but probably in the world. We caught up with Tim at the recent Florida RV Super Show in Tampa, and our interview with him is this week's Conversation of the Week. What do you tell people what's the first thing they need to know when they start to tow an RV? It's a scary thing for a lot of people.
Know your weights.
Well, I do, but I'm not going to tell you. You mean, yeah.
Know your trailer weights, and as well, just as important as the weight is what the weight rating is. So you need to look at the truck, you need to look at the trailer, you need to look at the cargo carrying capacity of the truck, you need to look at the axle weight ratings. It's unfortunately a pretty complicated subject.
Well, let's assume that they've got the right size truck to pull it, and they're pulling. But just what are the safety things that they need to know besides how much they have? We'll start on weight, because it's pretty easy to go overweight.
It is.
Your trailer may be fine, your truck may be fine, but then you start bringing stuff in. Give us a sense of what counts as weight.
Yeah, so anything that you add to the unit, the water in the tank, the water or other substances in the gray and black tanks, that all counts towards your weight. Anything that you put in the refrigerator counts. And the challenge is that, you know, when you're loading the trailer, you're bringing it in one laundry basket at a time, or maybe one item at a time. And so it's that $5 or 5 pounds, 10 pounds. It's like the credit card bill at the end of the month. You didn't buy anything big, and there's a couple $1,000s there, and it's like, what did I buy? And it's $20 at Amazon and $5 at the grocery store.
What are the signs that your rig is overweight? We'll get to weighing it in a minute and how to do that. But people who've been doing this for a long time, how do they know when it's overweight? Is there something they'll notice when they go to brake, or when they have to turn?
Yeah. So all of the components on the unit are sized for that weight rating, and so if you look underneath there, a lot of times you can tell the leaf springs will be flattened out. That's a pretty good indicator if it's got a leaf spring suspension on it. Your brake performance is going to be degraded. So if I've got the 3,500 pounds worth of brake, but I'm trying to stop 4,000 or 5,000 pounds, it's not going to work nearly as well. That's the type of thing that you're going to see typically.
With just in general, we talked about how important it is to weigh it. Where do people get a weight? I mean,
so we have a Love's truck stop that's close to my house that I've used before. I've had trailers weighed at the local gravel pit, as crazy as that sounds. Mm-hmm. I have a friend who has his trailer weighed at the feed mill.
You see these signs at truck stops along the highway. It says scales.
Yep.
Is it okay just to drive in there with an RV? They'll let you do that?
Not the state-run trucker scales.
No,
but CAT scales. They have the CAT has a program. They actually have an app for it. I was doing a little bit of research into this.
CAT. We'll put a link in the description below.
Yep, and they have an app, so you can go and pull in, and you get on the app and say you want to weigh your trailer. You don't even have to go inside the You don't have to go inside the building to be able to do it. You can get your weights right there.
Really, it'll cost. So do you weigh the truck, and then the trailer? Do you what are some of the things? 'Cause
So
everybody else knows what they're doing. There's one of our people. We're going to go up there. What do we weigh? You know, we just drive the truck on. Do we put the trailer on?
So it's going to be a couple step process. They're going to pull on with the entire rig, and there's places for each one of the axles to rest. And so when you get done, it'll tell you what the weight is on the front, on the steer axle is what it's called, what they call it, the drive axle, and then you'll also get the weight on the trailer axles. Now it doesn't give you individual wheel weights, so depending on how the load is distributed in the camper, there can be some wheel end variation, but it'll at least give you what the trailer weights are and what the truck weights are. And then the best case scenario is you disconnect and pull and weigh just the truck and get the steer weight and the drive weights. Truck loaded versus truck unloaded is what your hitch weight is.
Now, this is pretty complicated for a lot of RVers out there.
It is.
And they're pulling into a cat scale at a truck stop or at a place along the highway. There's all these trucks behind them. Do they need to talk to anybody first, or just use that app and take your time? Because these guys in the trucks, I'm sure, do the same thing, right?
Yeah, you can use the app and do that. If you've never done it before, I would advise finding a morning when there's not a lot of people around. My first time, it was a little intimidating. I didn't have the app. I didn't know there was an app. I went inside and asked, what do I have to do? And they gave me some directions, and there wasn't a ton of people around it. And truckers, I think, will respect the fact that you're trying to do things the correct way.
So I will put a link to the Cat Scale app, and that'll be a good start. What do you tell people about driving when you're towing and safety? And let's talk to the novice, and then let's talk to the guy. Oh, I've been doing this for years. I can handle anything. Why don't you give them some safety tips that you tell your folks?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, there's a lot of things. So number one is you got to know your rig, and you got to know how it feels. And slow is better. So you're going to want to start out running at a slower pace. As you get more comfortable with it, you can go faster. But speed limit is there for a reason, and you shouldn't be running even the speed limit in most cases with a fully loaded rig. I can't tell you how many times that I've been passed by, the trucks today are so powerful that they'll tow a fifth wheel at 90 miles an hour. Just because it can go that fast doesn't mean you should go that fast.
So what should you go? What speed do you drive? And you know what you're doing.
Again, it depends on what you're.
Let's say you're towing a big fifth wheel.
It depends on what you're comfortable with. I typically will run a couple miles an hour under the speed limit.
So 70, you'll run 68?
68, and that's mostly just because the fuel mileage is so much better. When you understand the aerodynamics of it and how all that works, the velocity, your speed plays a huge part in how much fuel you're going to use, and so it falls off. It's already not good, and going 80 miles an hour makes it even worse.
So people tell us that almost every time they have damaged their rig when they're pulling it, it's because they're not paying attention to the swing as they drive. What are just some general tips, some safety tips about driving down, making turns, and nobody likes backing in? Maybe you can walk them through those things a little bit.
Yeah, regards to turning, you need to allow for that extra space. So the trailer isn't going to follow exactly behind the truck, and you need to leave extra room, so turn wide. This is another one of those ones where it's really great to practice when you're not in a critical situation. So being very familiar with, and that was kind of what I was alluding to earlier when I mentioned being familiar with your rig. So when you get it, if you've never towed a trailer before, go to your neighborhood or find a neighborhood where you can drive around and there's no traffic, and you can watch in the mirrors and see how close your trailer follows you, so that you can get some experience with, how wide you need to go to not be clipping the curb or hitting a pole. Or
in general, I was told good advice is always go right to the edge of your lane, and then on a right-hand turn and turn. Same with the left, and then the trailer should follow behind you. But
yeah, that is great advice, and certainly that's going to get you the best situation that you can have. But again, knowing where that's at, if you're towing a smaller trailer, something that's a single axle, you may not need to go that wide, and If I can be a little bit away from that center line, I like to be in my lane for sure.
We won't talk long about this other than one question: tires. How do people? We hear all about China bombs. How do you know whether you have a China bomb?
I don't like that term, but
Well, it's out there. You know what I mean? It's cheap tires that tend to break a lot. Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. I am not the guru on which brands are which, and unfortunately these days it's difficult to find stuff that's made in the USA. The key thing is making sure your tires are inflated properly. So you want to make sure they're inflated to the rating on the sidewall. That's where you get and you need to do that at cold, so when it's not been moving. If you've got TPMS and you can see what the tire pressures are,
pressure monitoring
tire pressure monitoring system. If you've got that for your trailer, and it actually gives you a readout of what the tire pressures are. If you inflate them cold, it will go above that as you're moving.
As you're driving, they heat up.
Yep, they heat up and the pressure increases. That's not bad. Don't let air out of them when you get there.
That's a really good point, because so many people have done that. Is it harder to be underinflated or overinflated? What's most dangerous?
I'm not a tire expert, so I would hate to tell you which is worse, but I can tell you that being underinflated is not a good situation. When you're underinflated, your tires will be running hotter than they are, and heat is the enemy of tires for sure.
How often do you suggest that the driver check the tires on the vehicle they're towing?
I check it at the beginning of each time I'm starting to drive. So I would be checking it each morning if I was doing trips that were multiple days consecutively. I don't check it like mid-trip though. If I'm doing a 10-hour day and I have to stop for gas 3 times, I'll check the tires. I will put my hand on them and feel the tire for heat to see if any of them are excessively hot. Usually that would show up on a TPMS just from a delta in the tire pressure. I'm a big proponent of TPMS because it lets you see some of those things. If you have a tire that's low on air, it will run hot. If you've got something else going on with your wheel end, sometimes it will show up as a increase in pressure.
The little screw-on sensors are okay for the TPMS? I've heard truck tire people say, "Oh, those aren't any good. They can break off and lose your inflation." But they seem to be very popular, and they're very easy to install versus the ones that are built into the tire, which are hard to find at all.
I'm not going to tell you that they're never going to break off. I don't believe that it's a widespread problem.
Yeah, good. Well, thanks. One last piece of that. What's the biggest question you get when you do seminars like here at the Tampa RV show about towing safety?
I mean, typically they want to know what I think is the most important to safety, and I would say, run at a safe speed and allow yourself more stopping distance.
Yeah, and don't worry about people getting angry gestures behind you. Be safe always.
Yeah, for sure.
Tim, thanks. Appreciate you being on the podcast.
You're very welcome.
It's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Good. Well, we thank Tim Schultz for sharing his expertise with us. Lots to learn, and it's different when you're towing, and it's so easy to tow these days that you often forget that there is an RV behind you, and it's a good reminder to be safe.
I forget, I'm the passenger, and I forget the RV is back there.
Yeah, they really do tow nice.
You just don't feel it back there.
All right. Owning RV land is a fast-growing trend that RV lifestylers are increasingly interested in. Now, many of you know that Jen and I have owned our own RV land in Tennessee for several years now. It's kind of our special secret little retreat that gets us away from everything. We just love it. We can stay as long as we want, whenever we want. And we're regularly hearing from RVers west of the Mississippi who say, do you have anything out west? So this week, we're going to introduce you to the Western RV Land Report. It's sponsored by Western Land and Ranches. And to get an idea on what kind of RV land is available out there, we check in now with Western Land and Ranches, Eric Posniak. Well, joining us right now, Eric Posniak from Western Land and Ranches. So what RV land out there is available this month, Eric?
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me. So we are having a awesome sale out here at our Windmill Acres project, and that's going to be Saturday, February 22nd. These are 1 and 2 acre size lots, perfect for RVers, and we're situated in a prime location.
Now, how big are these lots?
They're going to be 1 to 2 acres, but we've had people buy multiple lots together.
Okay. The location of this, whereabouts are we located?
That's one of the things that really gets me going here. I mean, we are in a prime location, an hour from Vegas, an easy drive to Lake Mead, the Colorado River, Hoover Dam, and get this, we are 1 day's drive away from 13 different national parks.
All right, so that's one spot. What's another one?
All right. Well, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag on this one. Coming in March, we are super excited about a new project just outside of Colorado Springs called Frontier Ranch. And these are going to be huge, 35 to 40 acre size lots with electric and easy access off the Interstate 25.
For more information, how do people who are thinking about buying their own RV land, how do they get a hold of you or check out these developments?
Sure. We have great information available on ArizonaRanchSale.com. And then for Colorado, ColoradoRanchSale.com.
We'll put a link in the descriptions below. Eric, thanks so much for this report.
Great to see you. Thank you, Mike. Have a great day.
All I can tell you is, as we said at the top, we have had RV land for a couple, 3 years now, and it really is a game changer for us.
Now it's time for the social media buzz with Wendy Boyer. And Wendy reports on the hot issues most talked about this past week on social media and our RV lifestyle community group.
Hi, everybody. Over in our private RV lifestyle community, we get together as a community twice a week on a live, and it's always a great time. We talk about different topics, lots of interaction, very personal. And last week, the hosts of this live were Phyllis and me, and it was great. We talked about different ways people can get the most out of the community because, frankly, our private community has a lot of ways to interact that Facebook just does not. So it was really fun to share this with everybody and see the excitement as people see more ways to connect. And also in our community, one thing I've been following, and to me it's a bunch of buzz, is one of our members is doing an epic trip, one of those once-in-a-lifetime trips. He and his wife and friends are camping down the Baja Peninsula in Mexico. So he's sharing pictures and talking about his experiences as he goes down this pristine area along the Pacific coast. Just really fun to follow along. And I don't know about you, but I love following people who are having a great time RVing. So thanks for sharing those, Bert. And speaking of epic trips, we had a post that I have to share with you from our RV Lifestyle Facebook group about just such a thing. We had Craig, and he asked, what are your thoughts of driving a motorhome from Kentucky all the way up to Alaska and back? Now, Alaska is one of those things that many RVers dream of doing, and it was fun to see all the comments. I'd say most people by far said, go for it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You need to do it. But there are some real concerns, and it's good to know those ahead of time. So here are some things people shared. Several people said that this road to go all the way up there is pretty rough, and so you need to know that your motorhome is going to get pretty beat up when you do this sort of trip. Several people said you can even expect a cracked windshield at some point. Others said that gas stations or fuel stations can be kind of few and far in between. So every time you see one, you need to stop and fuel off, top off. And many also recommended that he bring some extra gas cans just in case. And in fact, many said bring some extra tires. One person shared his friend had multiple tire blowouts because the road is rough. So just come prepared and bring your things. And a couple people recommended joining maybe others, maybe a caravan, something like that. There are organized tours or friends organize a tour. So that's another option. So the bottom line is people recommended Craig, do it, go for it, and just be prepared. Also in Facebook, we had a poster named Kim who asked a question about a topic we see a lot. And so what she said is, what do RVers do to cover those valances? Now she called them unattractive and outdated. And I know many of you can picture exactly what she's talking about, but these valances that are often around the windows of our RVs. She wanted to see pictures of how people handled this. And this was great. If you are thinking about replacing your valances, you really need to check out this post because people shared what they did and it looks so good. We had Beth who replaced them with shutters, super attractive. Wendy, she changed the fabric on the valances and then she made a matching throw pillow that she put on her sofa to tie it all together. It looked really good. And Kay, she just took them completely down, really opened up her windows, and that was interesting to see too. So lots of ideas there. But perhaps the most exciting and big news of the past week in our social media community was our Facebook group reached 500,000 people. Can you believe it? We couldn't believe it, but we're 500,000 now. And so I just want to say thank you to everyone who is a part of that community, and a special thank you to our amazing moderator team. These folks are all volunteers who spend endless hours every week taking time out of work, out of their camping trips, out of just being home with their family to kind of clean things up and keep the main thing there. And just thank you guys. You're an amazing team. And that's it for me this week. I'm Wendy, and I'll see you either in our RV Lifestyle community or Facebook group.
Thanks, Wendy. It's always fun to hear what everybody's talking about, and I thought it was great how somebody's planning that trip to Alaska that I think every RVer dreams about, and how everybody out there was saying the pros and the cons, but they were definitely saying, go for it.
Yeah. Epic trips. That's one of the things that we love seeing discussed in our Facebook group and, of course, our rvcommunity.com. And if you're not a member of the rvcommunity.com, what are you waiting for? Go on over there, check it out. Just go to rvcommunity.com. We'll help you have the best year ever of the RV lifestyle. Time now for the RV news of the week.
And the RV Industry Association released its wholesale shipments for 2024, showing mixed results.
Now, shipments for all motorhomes, bet you think that's the most popular, right? And they usually have been. And we're talking about Class A, Class B, and C. We're down by a combined 23.9%. That is a huge drop. And the industry's trying to spin this in a positive way, but motorhome sales down almost 24%. So far this year, all the indications from the RV show at Tampa and regional RV shows, they just had the Detroit show this week and they set a record there. All of them say that they're seeing a huge increase in consumer optimism. Sales at all of these shows have been above or at least equal to last year. So it looks like 2024 will be a better year for all different segments out there. How about an interesting story out of California? We've been talking about clean air regulations in California. Well, this is interesting. Kings River RV Resort. They're in Kingsburg, California. They're expected to become the very first RV park in the state with electric vehicle charging stations at all 189 campsites.
Each site will now have two 50-amp plugs, one for the RV and one for the electric vehicle. And the change is being made in anticipation of California's plan to ban gas-only cars by 2035.
So they're ahead of the curve,
Yeah.
but they will fill up. I can't imagine what that's going to be like with people using EVs, at least in their state today, to tow an RV. Mixed results, but right now, but by 2035, you can see there's one resort that's banking on more EVs being used by RVers. Seasonal workers, this is a big story that's gotten a lot of attention, and we'll see how this all shakes out, but you've probably heard about seasonal workers at the nation's 433 national parks and historic sites have received emails saying that their job offers for the 2025 season are rescinded as part of the Trump administration's federal spending freeze.
Now, these seasonal jobs range from visitor center employees, maintenance workers who clean bathrooms and empty trash cans, to park rangers, leaving many outdoor enthusiasts wondering how this will affect summer travel.
Now, we'll see how this shakes out. We're told by the administration that, they're just trying to get a grip on everything, understand where everything is. They're not moving forward with anything, but they will. So we'll see. But I can't imagine how our national parks would be able to even operate if all of those jobs are indeed rescinded. So we'll keep an eye on that one for you. There's some good news in Texas. They're going to open a new 2,000-acre state park with camping. Going to take a couple, 3 years for that to happen, but they bought some property for $35 million in the Texas Hill Country. And they have 2 miles of access to the Colorado River there, and it's going to offer stunning views. So that's just a couple of years away. They're going to be developing that now.
Speaking of state parks, Utah's much anticipated Utah Raptor State Park is expected to fully open in the next few months. The new state park will have 67 modern campsites after drilling wells and extending power from the nearby Moab.
67 spots are going to be great, but boy, they need more out there. That is such a popular area. Arches National Park is there, and then Utah has so many people with ATVs and four-wheel drive vehicles and Jeeps, and they love that area. So that's a start, but we'd love to see a few more campsites besides that 67. All right, that's the RV news of the week. When we come back, the RV question of the week and Mike and Jen's story time. Stay with us.
When we're asked what's the most important modification we made to our RV, it's an easy answer. Battle-Born batteries. Battle-Born batteries are quality, safe, reliable lithium batteries that allow us to stay out there off the grid longer. Lithium batteries charge faster, they charge fuller, they're longer lasting, they're maintenance free, and Battle-Born batteries are protected by a 10-year guarantee. Now, in our case, they just dropped into the existing AGM batteries that we have, and they'll probably be the same on your rig too. Battle-Born battery experts can get those in your rig just like they did with ours. They can also match you up with the right cabling, the inverter, the charger, the solar controller, everything. Jennifer and I swear by our Battle-Born batteries. They allow us to boondock off the grid. Check them out. Go to rvlifestyle.com/lithium. rvlifestyle.com/lithium.
Welcome back, everybody. Time now for the RV question of the week. You can tell springtime is coming because we're getting questions like this.
We're making a list of what to get for the new camping season, and I'm wondering if I should replace our drinking water hose and the water filter, and this was from Carson.
And Carson, the answer is yes. You should replace both at the start of every new season. Here's the thing that I don't think a lot of RVers realize, and that is that bacteria and mold and all sorts of nasty things have been traced to contaminated water hoses and bacteria in them, including like Legionnaire's disease. So you want to take care of that. In our opinion, everybody should toss out the hose they've been using at the start of every new season. Get rid of the old hose. If you are full-time, you should probably replace that hose maybe twice a year because it's almost a given that bacteria is going to grow when you take that hose out and you put it away, whether it's for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, whether you just go in a couple of days in the hot summertime and you just throw it in the storage compartment. If that hose hasn't been completely dried, bacteria is going to develop, and some of it can be really unpleasant. Some of it's not terribly harmful. You might have a little bit of intestinal issues. Some of it can be really bad. Some of it can resemble E. coli. That's how bad it can be. If it's exposed to warm temperatures, if it's not properly dried between uses, and that applies to almost everybody when you unhook your water hose, it's going to get bacteria. So replace it, and replace it more often if you use your RV a lot. Now, besides that, make sure when you do take your water hose off the campground spigot that you drain it really well. Spend a couple of minutes, getting all the water out of that hose. There's still going to be damp in there. And when you hook it up at the next campsite, let the water run out on the ground for 20, 30 seconds just to kind of flush out anything in there. That's not going to help a whole lot, but it will get some of it out of there. And just make sure you have a good filter, which should also be replaced at the start of every season. Your water filter can also develop bacteria. It can get clogged up with all the sediment and the stuff that it pulls out of the campground water, the city water hookup. And you don't want to leave that wet as well, and it's pretty hard to get all the water out of it. When I take mine off, I usually, let it drain as best I can. Then I actually blow through it to get a little more water out of it.
Well, then we got more germs in there.
You got my germs. Yeah, well, they're mine. What the heck? And then
I think I'm going to take a bottle of bleach with us and pour it in the hoses and everything.
You can do that and clean stuff up. And replace your filter every year if you are a frequent camper, twice a year if you're a full-timer, 3 times a year. That's our best advice for taking care of your water. If you got a question or comment, or if you want to, maybe you've suffered some intestinal issues it's related to that you want to share with people so they understand how serious this is, you can reach us at Mike and Jen at rvlifestyle.com. All right, time now for Mike and Jen's story time.
All righty. Now, this week, our story is about a visit we made to Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania several years ago to witness the annual spectacle of a groundhog named Phil predicting the weather.
Now, Phil just did that a couple of days ago as we released this podcast. And in fact, he had the same forecast that we saw the time we visited. Mm-hmm. But this was, I think we were the very first, and we may be the only ones, RVers who've ever been able to allowed to be camped up on Gobbler's Knob the night before Punxsutawney Phil shows himself. We were there in Punxsutawney covering them as media, and we got to meet some of the organizers, and we were talking to him, and we said, hey, you know, we're going to be there at 7 a.m. when the gates open, but we have this at that time we were in a class B. Can we just go up and spend the night on the thing? And they said, oh, it's closed to the public, but all right, here. And he wrote us a little permit, and we went up there and pulled into this huge parking lot. We parked at the far end of it. There was maybe 2 or 3 vehicles at the very front, which we figured were workers. But it was quiet and it was empty. And we knew we had to get up really early.
Yeah, so we settled in about 10 p.m. and it was so nice and quiet and peaceful up there. And like I say, we knew we had to get up, but dawn's breaking, so we were ready to sleep. And then at about 2 a.m., lights and a steady stream of cars and trucks filled up this huge parking lot, and they were accompanied by a lot of noise from happy and very noisy people.
Punxsutawney partygoers
Yes.
were pouring into the parking lot. How's that for
Excellent
for
job,
alliteration?
Michael. Very well done.
So what we didn't realize is we knew that because the whole town is a party atmosphere that whole week, the whole 2 days up leading up to it. But we didn't realize that they open the gates for everybody to come into to Gobbler's Knob at 3 a.m. And by the time, within an hour or two, 20,000 people were there. 20,000 people.
And I think what's so amazing, they don't have chairs to sit on.
No, they just
and
pour in.
There's no alcohol. You're not bringing in adult beverages.
I thought, with all the noise, because they were hooping and hollering and pounding beach balls back and forth. I says, boy, there's a lot of alcohol being consumed out there. But no, they don't allow any alcohol in. And people stood there, no chairs, they stood there in mud. The day we were there, it was a wet, the whole thing was just this squishy mud. So we're going to play for you a little bit of an excerpt right now of a very wild night we spent in our RV on Gobbler's Knob on Groundhog Day.
It was not good news this year from a rainy, muddy Gobbler's Knob in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, where the world's most famous weather prognosticator saw his shadow and had a bleak forecast for us.
A Super Bowl winner I will not predict, but my weather forecast you cannot contradict. Why, that's not a football, but my shadow I see. It's 6 more weeks of winter. It must be!
But no matter for the estimated 25,000 who crowded to this little town in the Allegheny Mountain Hill Country, the annual Groundhog Day message from Phil was an excuse for a party. One that started just after 3 a.m. and didn't end until the verdict came in at sunrise. Jason Grisky, known as the Big Chill and one of the elite members of the Punxsutawney inner circle that tends to the big day and the little groundhog, said the celebrating just gets bigger and bigger.
Everything we do here is free, it's fun, it's lighthearted. It's all about having a big party in the middle of the winter and just, hey, let's just forget our problems and have a good weekend. And I don't think there's a single event we put on that people aren't leaving with a smile on their face.
The party actually started the day before when thousands streamed into the little town, snapping up Groundhog Day souvenirs like silly hats and mugs and mittens and everything else you could possibly think of. For many, This was a bucket list visit.
Happy Groundhog Day.
Happy Groundhog Day.
Where are you guys from?
Florida.
Florida.
You're from Florida.
Yep.
There is something drastically wrong with this picture. Why did you come from Florida to the heart of winter here in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania?
Bucket list. Always wanted to come on Groundhog Day.
The star of it all, of course, is Phil, a cute and very cuddly little groundhog who seemed a bit, well, overwhelmed by all the attention from his thousands of partying pals gathered to take in his prognostications.
You know, what was most amazing to me was that it was cloudy and rainy, and there was no way, you know, that the groundhog was going to see his shadow, but everybody there was just so tense with anticipation to wait to see whether he was going to see his shadow. And I'm just like, okay, they've not been drinking. Maybe it's because they've been up all night. But it was incredible to me.
I mean,
But
it's
a
like they
spirit of
really,
fun.
it's like they really thought that Punxsutawney Phil was a real indicator of what the winter was going to be like.
I mean, no way was he going to see his shadow.
And I think the thing that led me is what a timid little animal he was. He looked scared to death. They held him up in front of the crowd. But anyway, the excerpt you just heard, if you're listening on the podcast, we showed a video on it on our YouTube channel. So you can go to the YouTube channel and you can see that part of it, or you can go to the show notes and click the link to the original video we did.
I got to say, it was so much fun. And then after all this going on, we went and had breakfast with a whole bunch of other people from the area. The spirit of fun still continued.
Yep. Punxsutawney Phil and our RV night on Gobbler's Knob. That's our story time of the week. All right, we will be back next week with more. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please send us an email with any of your comments or questions. Mike and Jen at rvlifestyle.com.
Happy trails.